Today we have Fallon Brown. She is a serial entrepreneur. I met her a couple of years ago when she became my client. I was her realtor, and we've become great friends. I'm a big fan. Right now, she has a business called 𝗂𝗍𝗿 Fragrances, and she does candles and soaps and the bomb bath bombs. Mandy, those bath bombs I shared with you guys in Cancun came from this beautiful lady right here. She has been a very successful Airbnb coach, host. And the reason why I wanted her to come talk is just to share what it takes to be an entrepreneur and how beautifully she's transitioned from doing it in her hometown of Chicago to moving down here, reestablishing her business. And so with that, Fallon, go ahead and tell a little bit more about yourself, and then I have some questions.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here, Julie. Thank you for having me. It's nice to meet everyone. And so my name is Fallon Brown. I am originally from Chicago. And yes, I have a business called 𝗂𝗍𝗿 Fragrances. So I started my business in really 2010. I opened a store, my first storefront in 2014 in Chicago. And so I did that. I'm kind of one of the originators to the 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗍 candle making class experience. So I hosted those events for private groups and on a corporate level as well. And we traveled with that. And then shortly after that, I obtained Whole Foods as one of my clients. So I started selling my products to Whole Foods and on Amazon. And then I moved to Dallas, and this is my new home now. So we're expanding. And yeah, that's pretty much what. Oh, and then the Airbnb. I also had a property, a two-flat property in Chicago that I listed on Airbnb, so I have some experience with that as well.
Okay, thank you very much. One of the important things about being a successful entrepreneur is identifying those traits that enable you to differentiate yourself from everybody else. And Fallon, can you tell me what traits you have that you think are, hey, this makes Fallon awesome, and I can do these things that no one else can do quite as well? That makes you the successful entrepreneur.
Um, I would just say it was my belief in my products, and I would say that I started my business because it was more so a hobby. It was something that I enjoyed doing. It I wasn't really in it for the money. It just kind of grew from there. So I was very passionate about my business. Like I said, I wasn't in it for the money, um, and people would always come to me and ask me like, "What do you use on your skin? You have great skin." And so my products kind of sold itself. So I would say that, as well as when I got into doing events, I started with a candle making class. So that was me actually teaching other people how to start a business. I also used to do entrepreneur empowerment teas, where I would bring in a group of entrepreneurs who aspire to have a business, kind of bounce ideas off each other, and we focus on mentorship. So me passing it along to other people and being a connector and teaching other people how to make candles as well and how to start a business. That kind of, I would say made me stand out with that.
Okay, so kind of what I'm hearing is having a passion for what you're doing that you probably do whether you made money or not is one of the things you need in order to be successful at that endeavor. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm that way about real estate and real estate investing. I would do it all day, every day now that I know about it, but
Yeah.
it also helps me make a little bit of money. So I'm happy about that. Um, what got you into Airbnb?
So I had a two flat. I lived in one unit and I rented the other unit. I had some problems with the tenant. So the tenant ended up moving out. Well, actually, I had 2 problem tenants. So once the last tenant moved out, and also at the time I was traveling a lot. So when I travel, I actually stayed in Airbnb. So I remember I was in Israel and I stayed in a hostel and I booked it through Airbnb. And I was like, I had no tenants. And I was like, I wonder what would happen if I list my building on Airbnb. I also moved out, so I was staying someplace else. So pretty much the building was vacant. So I decided to try Airbnb versus getting another tenant because it was already staged. My apartment was staged, and I got the furniture to stage the other apartment. And I tried it, and it was a huge success. It was a lot of work, but it was definitely a huge success.
One of the things that I think it's necessary to be a successful entrepreneur is to be willing to work really hard at what you're doing, that it's never easy. So do you agree that that's the case?
It's a lot of work. I work 24/7, so yeah. It's a lot of work, but it's not like work when you enjoy what you're doing. But it's definitely, you have to be willing to put the work in and work the long hours and be flexible. So yeah.
Well, one of the things that you have, and I don't know if I've ever told you this specifically, that you create things that are also beautiful. So like the gift package that you created, I might have to go get mine real quick, but just to give to people, it's fantastic. Your pictures are beautiful. Your marketing is great. Tell me about how you became so good at marketing yourself, and maybe offer some suggestions for other people. And I'm going to go get that gift box. I'll be right back.
I would say I've been doing it for so long. And so I've been doing it since 2010. So my pictures and images and marketing material wasn't always what it is now. So I think it just evolves over time because you experience it, you grow, you tweak things. A lot of it has to do with watching your competition. And I learned a lot from watching my competitors. So when I am taking photos, I'm looking and I'm thinking about staging, how to stage a photo. I look at, what are other candle companies, how are they staging their photos? And I get ideas. And actually my photography mentor told me, look at, Neiman Marcus. If you like, you want your brand to kind of simulate that, look at Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom's and how they kind of stage their photos and use their ideas. So that and a lot of practice.
Okay, I want to take this moment to share, because actually I wanted to show everyone this beautiful box. How did you come up with this beautiful packaging?
You know what? I spend so much time online. Like my whole Instagram feed is with people who are in the same market as me. And so when I'm browsing Instagram, that's all I'm seeing is, other people who are doing the same thing as me. So I get ideas from what other people are doing, but I kind of tweak it to make it my own and to make it match my brand. So that and just a lot of what I like. So a lot of my fragrances and a lot of my packaging is kind of like what I like. So I make my product it's for my customers, but it's also for me. So I like and use everything that I make. And so I kind of make it for myself, and I make it available for everyone else too.
Okay, I love that. The takeaway that I heard was that you look at what other people are doing, you take the best at what you see out there, you add your own little flavor and addition to it, and then you come up with something new and fantastic. So thank you, that's pretty awesome. Are there any people that you would attribute to helping you grow your business, grow yourself personally to make this possible? Any particular loved one, mentor, or anything like that? If you were on stage accepting your Grammy, who would be in your thank you speech?
You know what? I hate saying this, but it's me. Like, I really didn't have a lot of mentors growing up. So in my business, I'll say. So I probably would have been more successful sooner had I had those mentors that were working close with me and were kind of helping me through the business logistics of it, but I didn't have that. So I kind of would say it was me and my determination to not give up. And for me, being able to take rejection and just to be able to keep going. There is one person that really loved my candles. She was my publicist in Chicago, and she loved my 𝗏𝗏 fragrance. So I hired her to do some things for me, and she was also a customer. So we built the relationship, and she believed in my brand so much. She was actually instrumental in me getting in Whole Foods. So she was no longer, I was no longer her client, but because she believed in my business and she loved my products, she still kind of sent resources my way without me even paying her. And that's why I'm in Whole Foods, because of her. Her name is Winona. So that would probably be the closest person that I would say was like a mentor.
Okay. No, I really love that, because part of the Pitranomics series talks about who is in your lifeboat, and are they causing you to sink, or are they helping you to paddle along? And this was someone that came into your life and helped you out, gave you probably some motivation to do better, because getting into Whole Foods, that's not a small task, that's a big one. So that's really awesome. Do you have any advice for new entrepreneurs? Anything you would even advise to yourself starting out?
So the mentorship, I would definitely say find a mentor in your field that has experience, that will kind of help you along the way, and they've made the mistakes, they went through the process, so they can give you valuable information so that you don't have to go through that same, pattern of making those same mistakes. I would say make a good business plan, research your market, competitors, and try to make your business stand out, like what's unique about you. So I would say that. And then you got to be willing to just pat yourself on the back and keep going. And you got to be able to take no and not let that affect you. And you got to keep going, even when the money's not there, even when it doesn't look like you have to get up and keep going. You got to really believe in yourself. And you got to be willing to put the work in.
You know what? I love all of that, especially the part about being willing to put the work in, because a lot of people will see someone when they're successful and think, oh, that looks easy. And that part's much easier than that uphill grind it took to get there. So I really appreciate your saying that.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is, if anybody has any questions, you can do one of two things, three things actually. You can post it in the chat. You can just unmute and, pop on out there, and I'll try and see what's going on here on Facebook and see if there's anybody that would like to ask some questions.
Hey, Fallon, it's Shamir. I have a question.
Hey, girl.
It's funny that you said, to kind of pat yourself on the back and keep going even when the times get tough. Anytime that I listen to successful people, I always want to hear about the struggle. And the struggle for me is so important, because it's easy to see somebody be successful and think they've always been successful. And, oh, it was just, it just happenstance that I'm this great, successful person. But when you hear the struggle, that helps too, because at some point in your entrepreneurship journey, there may be a struggle. And people need to know about that so they don't feel like they just want to give up and throw in the towel when it does get hard. So would you be able to kind of touch on part of the struggle of business and what you may have gone through?
Yeah. So one part of, okay, so the struggle was being rejected from, like I've been rejected so much, it's not even funny. But just being rejected over and over again, especially with, I'll say, Whole Foods, because I had to pitch each store individually. So certain stores, I remember in Chicago, I'll do demos and pass out samples to, because in Whole Foods, it's probably like 5, 6 different candle brands. And I'm a small business. And some of the other candle brands are bigger, more familiar. So I would go and do demos and pass out free samples. And I remember like having my table, and when people will walk past, I'll give them a free sample. Like I'll, would you like a candle sample? And they'll say, no, that's okay. And I remember one day, like nobody wanted to get samples, and they wouldn't, like no one was interested, and I just felt like so defeated. But I had to just, realize that my product is not for everyone. Another thing is when I, like my pricing. So some people would say like my candles are high. So I would literally have people come in my store and ask, okay, how much are your candles? And I'll say they're $20, and they would say, like right there in front of me, $20 for that? I can get that for $5 at Walgreens. And I would, in my head, I would feel like, we'll go to Walgreens and get. Everything is not for everyone. That doesn't mean I'm going to go and change my prices. And I've had a lot of people tell me over the years that my prices are high, but everyone can't, it's not for everyone. You have a market that's of people who like the type of candles that Walgreens makes or sells. Mm-hmm. And then you have people who, they have candles this size at $70, like Joe Malone candles. It's smaller than this, and they're $70 a candle, and they sell off the shelf at Neiman Marcus. So I had to learn how to take criticism, constructive criticism, and apply it where it needed to be applied, and not take that and go feel like I'm doing something wrong, and that. So I would say that, and then one of the other things I remember when I first opened my store and I pitched Whole Foods, and they denied me actually, because they were like, you need it. Now this is when I first opened my store, so I didn't have like barcodes and all this other stuff that I needed, a certain type of level of insurance. I didn't have all of those things. So I remember I wasn't working with anyone. It was just me. So I pitched Whole Foods, and they were just like, no. And that was always my goal, because that's where I shop at. I'm all for natural products and handmade products. So I remember when they denied me, and I felt kind of, defeated, but I did not give up. I kept perfecting my product. I ended up getting barcodes, and I got the insurance I needed. And then a year later, I got in Whole Foods, and I got in one store. And once you get in one store, they do like a category assessment in 3 months to compare your product against the other products, so the other candles that they sell. And my candle outsold some of the popular brands, and that's how I was able to spread and be a Midwest vendor. So it was like, if I allowed that to, defeat me and just be like, okay, they said no and I gave up, then I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I had to just be willing to get rejected over and over again, but use that rejection and turn it into, you know, info, like, okay, it's telling me what I need to do, okay, you rejected me now, but it's just not the right time now. So learn from that experience, get my stuff together, get what I need, and do it again and keep going. So,
One of the things I would like to point out that you're a successful entrepreneur. I feel I've reached, sort of a level of success, but we have very different personalities. If you notice, Fallon is rather soft spoken and a lot less in your face than I am, but she's got steel in her spine and she gets done what needs to get done. And I love that about her. So you can be truly yourself. You don't have to be someone else. And you can believe in your product and your service. You don't have to discount it in order to get accepted. You just have to find your right audience, your tribe to get it done. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done. That's kind of what I believe. So thank you for sharing that. And getting your business off is really difficult. I'll say that. And I have met people that have looked at what I've done. It's like, oh, that looks easy, or I could do it, or even worse, try to discount my value because they think, oh, it's just something that can be done. But I'm here to say, guys, believe in yourself. Believe in what you do well and what you enjoy. If you enjoy doing it and you love it, like Fallon said, she does it for herself and then she shares it with others. That's kind of how, for me, what Pitranomics was. It's something we did as a family, and I'm sharing it with people. And it won't be for everybody. Not everybody's going to value it, but I hope somebody does. I hope people that I enjoy and I love and I get on to, and I meet people like Fallon who are willing to come on, thank you, Fallon, and share about your business and what it's done for you. So, I just love that. And Shamir, thank you for that question. I appreciate it. By the way, I put, Shamir put the my affiliate link because I am one of Fallon's affiliates. I believe in product in the chat. And Samir, if you get a chance, we also put it in Facebook because I'm not there yet. So great. Any other questions for Ms. Fallon? And I have got to stop all of that.
There is a question from Facebook. From 𝗲𝗍. She says, you mentioned having a good business plan. What resources did you use to create to get your business started?
I did my business plan through SCORE Chicago. It's like a small business. I don't know if they're nationwide, but SCORE is like
I've used them before.
Yeah, so they have a lot of free resources, and so I did a business plan through them, and I did not get any funding. I used my own money. And I borrowed from friends. And then as I made money, I put it right back into the business. So I didn't get any business loans or anything at the time. What other resources did I use? That's really it. Like, I would say I really didn't know what I was doing at first because I really didn't have there was no one in my family that was like a business owner or anything like that. I just knew that I wanted a storefront because I was tired of making products out of my house. And I wanted to be able to have a place that my customers can come see all my products and we can kind of network together. And I wanted to host events. And so I wanted a storefront. So I got a storefront and I kind of just took it from there. I learned as I went. And like I said, I would have been more successful had I had more resources when I first started. But I would say try I would say networking is important. Join your chamber of commerce and go to a lot of networking events for entrepreneurs because it's all about networking. And I ended up joining some neighborhood groups. And so when I would have events, they would just pour in. So it was all kind of like Black organizations and for economics in different neighborhoods in Chicago. And they supported me eventually when I joined those groups, and they came out. So networking is important because you'll eventually learn from the people you're around. Getting a mentor, having a business plan, joining your chamber, joining corporation organizations like SCORE, if they have that here, and watching your competition. You will learn a lot from watching your competition, your competitors.
You know, I'd like to just sort of translate that to what I do. What Fallon said about watching her competitors, I think she watches the successful ones.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very easy when you hear people, they start offering you advice on you should do this and you should do that. And one of the things I believe that you should watch is anyone offering you advice, look at what they're doing. How successful are they at what they're doing? How relevant is what they're doing that they're successful at to what you're doing? Be intentional and strategic about the advice you accept and about the competitors that you watch. And so when she said she looks at Neiman's, you know what that tells me? She wanted her brand to be synonymous with luxury. She wasn't trying to compete at Walmart. She was trying to compete on the luxury line. So you have to stay consistent with your goals and what you want to accomplish. And so I think that that's amazing.
I also want to say too, being innovative is really important too. Like I know for me, I really didn't like to post on social media. So I had Facebook, Instagram, and I had like 5,000 followers on one page, 5,000 followers on another page, 7,000 on another page, and I hadn't posted anything in a year. And when I really started getting into wanting to focus on my social media, I started looking at my competition who I felt was more successful than me. And they were posting like 2-3 times a day. They were doing these reels. And so I had to learn like, what are reels? And, you know, and so I learned what reels were, and I'm posting reels, and it has increased my sales significantly. And it was something that I didn't like, but I had to do it. And at one point I hired somebody to do it for me, but that was what my competition was doing. That was what my competitors and everyone is, you know, people are on TikTok, so I had to get on TikTok. I don't like TikTok necessarily, but for my business, I had to get a TikTok page. So just really being innovative and keeping up with what people are doing, and people love that. And so now I post videos of me making my soaps and me making my candles, and I can just post a video of me pouring soap in the mold, and people love it and they want to buy, and they feel like they have a connection because they're actually seeing the product being made. So that was something I had to learn to do, and it helped my business tremendously.
You know, that's one thing I need to take to heart, because I don't like posting on social media or doing reels or anything. And one of the people on here, Shamir, I took her around with me. We viewed some of my properties, and everywhere she went, she was like, this needs to be on social media. She was taking pictures. You need to do more with this. And I was like, you know, I don't know if I will. But it was kind of interesting. I'm not sure that people would be interested in the minutia of what I do, but maybe they would be. You know, the fact that I go into houses that have dog carcasses and feces, and they've ripped up the whole place, and then 3-4 months later, that house is a beautiful, beautiful place to live. So I don't know. I don't think I have a pulse on what people want to see, but maybe I'll start showing some of those little things that I do. I don't know if Shamir's on there. What do you think, girl?
Oh, I already told you, you could literally have your own reality show. Like you could be the next HGTV
People would love
sensation
to
with you.
see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Even me, being a real estate investor, I would definitely want to see, okay, you take a house and this is what it was and this is how it looked and this is what you made it, and then seeing your progress along the way. That's crucial.
Well, I have a good friend, Shalana. I don't think she's on the Zoom call, but she's telling me I need to show it more. So I'm actually going to have an investor boot camp. It's going to start in a couple of weeks, where I'm going to take a house that's in crappy condition, and I'm going to let people just see every step of the way, every single thing that I do, how I decide what I do, what it costs, why I make that decision. Because maybe sometimes that's hard to communicate what's going on in my mind, because I'm usually by myself when I do it. I think if I have other people watching me, they'll say, "Hey, Julie, why'd you do this?" And I'll say, "Oh, yeah, okay. So the reason why is, and I'll be able to create some content or some reels. So any other questions for Fallon or me? Because I'll keep talking if you don't. And I'll ask
I
more
have another
questions.
one. Kind of going into the Airbnb area. How has that been? Like, what would you say is like, how can I ask this? Like, what's the best part and the worst part, I guess, or is everything just kind of peachy keen?
It's a lot of work. So I would be, it's a 24-hour job. I would be out of town because I travel a lot. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm chatting with the customer. I mean, a client that wants to book and are asking questions about the neighborhood or this or that. And you're rated by your response rate. And of course, I want to get the booking because they're looking at multiple places. So I'm responding right away. And so it's a lot of work being able to manage the Airbnb platform itself, and just being able to know what's going on in the city, when to raise the prices, when to lower your prices in low season, how to stage your property properly for Airbnb. But I made really good money, and I wouldn't say easy money, because I had to you have to really, really work hard to keep your reviews good, because people are so picky. Like, I would have people, like, I had a lady tell me that my sheets were not 100% cotton. And she wasn't happy because my sheets were not 100% cotton, but she booked one room in my apartment, not the whole apartment, but one room for $60 a night. So she paid $60 a night and she wanted 100% cotton sheets. So you have to just, people are so picky. They pay this little amount of money and they expect the Ritz-Carlton Four Seasons treatment, but you have to know how to stage your property properly. And so I learned that along the way. But the money was so good, and my building was in the hood, and I made great money. It was in the Inglewood, Auburn Gresham neighborhood in Chicago, and I did really, really well because it was staged properly. Because like, I was able to book people and stay booked every night, and I wasn't in downtown Chicago. So I can imagine how much money I would have made if I was in the Loop area. So that's a few components of it, but also to, you get people who want to book and have parties. By it being a multi-family unit, I didn't allow parties because, if someone wants to have a party in one unit and then I have someone else in another unit, you're disturbing them. And so I couldn't allow parties in my unit. And people would sneak and have parties anyway. And so
Mm-hmm.
there would be times that I would have to put people out and call the police. I've had things stolen. Um, but it's a part of the process. So like Airbnb has insurance. So if you get something stolen, then it'll get replaced. It's a that's a part of the process. So as long as you have your receipts, as long as you have pictures of your property with, if you're going to have something like a sound system in there, which you shouldn't have if you're not allowing parties, then you make sure you take pictures of the sound system in the unit that you post, and you make sure you have your receipts. Airbnb will pay you 100% for it. So it's kind of like not a big deal. But I've had to call the police on people, and put people out in the middle of the night. That will probably be the worst part. And in one of my units, I had a camera in the unit, and you can do that if you let it be known. So like in the living room area, in one of my units, it was 3 bedrooms, and sometimes I'll rent each room individually. So someone booked an individual room, and unless they're booking out the whole place, I'll have a camera in the living room area that's facing the front door. So I had a guy come in, and I'm looking at the camera, and he was like waving his gun around in my living room. Yes. So I had to get him out of the unit without letting him know that I knew that he had a gun and I saw it on camera, so he wouldn't retaliate. So it was those kind of situations, but Airbnb is so good with working with you on that. And if you're thinking about having an Airbnb, I would definitely say talk to someone who has experience with having Airbnbs, just so that they can kind of tell you how to stage it, tell you how to prepare for those kind of things so that you know how to handle it. Because if you don't know how to handle those situations, it can be a lot.
I'm going to say one more thing about being an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's really tough. Sometimes you get disheartened when you do your level best to create the best product or service, and somebody just kind of craps all over it. They don't treat you respectfully. They don't treat your service like it's valuable. They want you to discount it. They're rude to you. Sometimes that's hard to take. I mean, even though I have a fairly tough skin, the reason why it's hard for me to take is I want to say something really nasty and just pop off and be rude. But that is not strategically advantageous to my business. So I have to try really hard not to do it. How do you, Fallon, because you seem to do it very well, keep your temper at a low point so you just don't go, now look here, at somebody that said something?
I'm not going to lie. I love my brand so much. It can be insulting. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I had a customer come in, and she was like, how much is this? And I told her, and she was like, that's too much money. And she said it nasty. And so my reply was, well, it's not for everyone. And so that may not have been the best response, but
I like it.
I'm still a person. And I feel like as long as you're not disrespectful, but she said it in a disrespectful way. And so it's not for everyone. But that was my response. And I don't think that was rude, but I'm not going to let you disrespect my brand either. So,
right.
I mean, I haven't had that happen too much. Mainly it's been about the price, but I will say where my store was located had everything to do with that too. So it wasn't like if my store was, so location is key, and my store was located in the Austin neighborhood of Chicago, and and it's on the border of Oak Park, and Oak Park people are in one income group and then category, and then the Austin are in a different. So I would get a lot of the Austin people, not a lot, but some that my candles are just too expensive. But if my store was in downtown Chicago, $20 would be cheap. So mainly I would just get some people who complain about the pricing, but I was kind of used to it, and I know that it's not for everyone. So I know that some people really feel like, a candle, some people want candles because they want to light it for the lights, or they're not really interested in the candle smelling up the whole room, or they don't care about what type of wax it is. Is it all natural? Is it handmade? Does it have synthetic additives? They don't care about that. Some people don't care about getting their food from Whole Foods. They don't care if their food is organic. They can get their food from wherever. So you just have to know that if you understand your market and that there's just different markets, then it really doesn't bother you. But at the same time, you won't disrespect my brand in front of me either. So.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Late last year, I got a house in the Irving area of Dallas. Was it Irving? Yes, it was Irving. And I had finished it and I had it open, and somebody walked in at an open house and they were like, "Is this house for sale?" And I said, "No, it's for lease." And I told them how much the lease price was. And she was like, "That's crazy. No one's going to pay that much for this property. It's crappy. This is almost a distressed property. It should just be sold on the auction block." And I'm standing there feeling this heat rise within me. And the fact that she said that the house had been finished renovating. I mean, I was finished. I was waiting to rent it. And then not too much later, somebody came in and gave me my rent price. And so part of me in my mind was like, where is that lady? I need to find her and show her. But, who knows what her motivation was in trying to tear me down? Maybe she wanted me to say, "Oh, really? Oh, well, I will rent it to you for a lower price," or whatever. So you have to just sort of slough that off and keep going. Believe in yourself. I'm sorry, there's some questions here. Let me not forget that. So please, somebody, Shamir or whoever, take care of.
Yes. So it's a question from Facebook, but before I do that, I'm laughing because it reminds me of a very famous song where it says, "Keep in mind that I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about it."
I know,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm laughing because I'm like, that comes to mind because you take it personal. But anyway, so the question from Facebook says, "What do we need to know about staging? I feel like having a good quality mattress is important. What else?"
Locks, smart locks are good, where you can change the codes out between guests, instead of, if you can get away from keys, that'll be great, because they will lose the key, and that's a lot to deal with. So smart locks, you definitely need cameras on the exterior of your property. One of the things that I used to have happen is, because I would monetize the heck out of Airbnb. So for instance, my property, it was only a 3-bedroom apartment, and the capacity was 6 maybe per unit, 6 or 7. So you can't have a party with 20 people. It's going to be too loud. It's going to disturb the neighbors. So if you had more, like if you were booking a room for 3 people, this is the price. But you can't pay to book for 3 people and show up with 10 people. You're going to use more water, more electricity. You're going to attract more trash. My cleaning person is going to have to do more. And so I would charge a fee per person, rightfully so, if you're going to have more people in the unit, and people would try to get around that. So my camera helped me with that, because I would, say if I charge $25 additional per additional person outside of 3, and the client will lie and say they had 3 people. If I saw on my camera that they had 6, 7, 8 people or whatever, I would take a clipping, take the video, send it to Airbnb. And so Airbnb, we have insurance on the client is they are charged insurance for their booking, and we are as well. So with your host guarantee, it covers things like that. So if the client does not pay, if the guest doesn't pay, then Airbnb has to pay through your host booking. So having that video, the surveillance helps a lot. And I had someone steal out of my property before, and I saw him on camera. So the camera is crucial. You absolutely have to have that. You need to have things like coffee, like a coffee maker, a wine opener, the obvious, like toiletries. I think Airbnb requires that you have toiletries now. The standard toiletries you would have when you book a hotel. A comfortable mattress is definitely, people will complain if the mattress is not comfortable. Extra blankets, a little Bluetooth, a small Bluetooth, nothing crazy that's going to disturb the neighbors, but with bass, but something like that. First aid kit. I would say join also the Facebook groups for Airbnb hosts, because they share a lot of information, and that's a good way to stay updated with the changes that Airbnb makes. And what else? Have some good sheets. Don't have any cheap sheets. Don't get the sheets from Walmart, because you will have that customer that complains about the sheets. And the thing with Airbnb,
that would be me.
I know you would. But we tend to think, oh, our booking, our room is, $60 a night or whatever. So I'm okay with just doing the bare minimums. Stage your property and do the best that you can. I'm not saying get all this luxury stuff, but really do a good job, because at the end of the day, you want to exceed the expectations of the guests, because you want them to leave a good review, because negative reviews can kill you. It will affect your algorithm, and you won't come up in the search. And if you have good reviews, and people read the reviews when they're booking. So, I mean, you want to exceed the expectations. So if you can get the good sheets, and like I would leave candles for my customers and label them and say, a label on a candle, thank you for booking my place, and gave them a gift. Some people leave bottles of wine. Always go over and beyond and exceed the expectations, because even if there is an area that is lacking just because you have someone that's just picky, they'll remember that extra thing that you did, and they'll leave you a good review. So